Welcome to today's collective reading. We'll begin with clearing with the kyanite here and the selenite. The kyanite, when you have it within your aura, it will align the chakras, so along all those dimensions. And the selenite, it raises the energy vibration. It's a very elevating crystal. So that's why I begin with those. That way we're pulling in all the support from all those layers of self and of source. Okay, so feeling a very heavy weight on the heart space, and your spirit team is trying to comfort you. It's wanting to comfort you. It's wanting you to be able to find what you need within self, within you, to comfort and soothe. So there may be a lot of synchronicities around you at this time. So what do we have for where the collective's mind space, their thoughts are currently at? What guidance? So we have number 36, which breaks down to a 9. So this is a manifestation card. Please don't mind my cat if you can hear him. So 369, yeah, that's a manifestation of, grounding in the sense of community. In reading the book on this card, it speaks of how, once a month, the women, they'd get together and they'd be, apart from the rest of the tribes, and they would have their monthly moon, and they would have that community, that collective, feminine space to move through that time of their month. And the golden heart here, also the kind of a guarding, because it's almost like a breastplate. But there's so much connected to the heart here in this image. There's so much. Oh, sorry, my hand is shaking. There's so much connected to this heart space that strengthens this. This reminds me of like these two on the side here. It reminds me of like the sash. I'm sure there's another word for it. But pastors will wear them on left and right side. Sometimes even on graduation you'll have something like that as well. So it's a crowning. It's you're a leader amongst these people, amongst this group, amongst this community. You're owning your space. If the symbolism is just in that, you're owning your power, and your owning of that power is being acknowledged, that you belong, that it is yours. This could be the coming in of abilities, awarenesses, sensitivities, like the inheritance. You've unlocked this within yourself because you've raised your vibration to this level. And the phrase of heavy is the head that wears the crown. With great power comes great responsibility. So it's a humbling feeling to be aware of so much, more than you're used to, possibly, definitely, and be very aware and in tune with the responsibility that comes with this additional awareness. It's part of why you have unlocked this, because you're not looking to exploit it. You're humbled by the power of it, by the impact it can have. So you're not alone in this. Your heart space is being supported, strengthened. But there is somewhat of a question of, does each one of these beads, do they actually serve to strengthen this golden breastplate over your heart chakra? Does this actually serve to strengthen that? Does each bead support you? And do they ebb and flow? Do they support, and then do they move into a state of, at times, somewhat detracting? An awareness of this ebb and flow with some of these aspects, these energies, these people, individuals that support and aid the heart space. It's a constant balancing act. That definitely flipped or hopped. How about that? So the Queen of Wands, definitely yeah, this has been something that you've been working towards, something you have manifested. This is your owning of that, but there's a very serious look to her face. Like, she is empowered, but there's a tiredness to her, almost like a cautious tiredness. For some of you, having a familiar, a pet, something to nurture, energetically, animals, pets, they filter energy in their environment, especially for those that they love. So that may be something that could help you through this transition, to spend extra time with your pet, or to look into adopting. It's very interesting that they're both wearing red as well. It's very earth grounded. I am safe. You have made yourself. You have owned this power, thus making yourself safe. But with this has come an awareness. Okay. Okay. So this is, oh, interesting. Okay, so this is going to be more of the emotional space. This is what's weighing on your heart space right now. And I sense this is about discernment around the different degrees of which the energies connected to this heart space of yours are either being preyed upon or are preying upon you. And being that you are a leader at some point in this perspective, it's becoming aware of when you can teach, when you can assist them in freeing themselves from energy such as this, and when you can't really support them in any other way than just being present. And then others where you really just need to detach and surrender that connection to the divine, to allow the divine to step in. Even if that is with you being the instrument through which the divine does intervene. Surrendering that responsibility, the wisdom in that, of giving of the heart space, of connecting to yourself within, to the wisdom and deferring there, is part of why you wear the crown, why you have been given this ability, this sensitivity. Exactly, the Ace of Cups, because you have so much love and awareness and language for it, really. You see it everywhere, in everything. You will see the light in people and seek to nurture it. Your instinct is to nurture that light. And this cup, if you notice, there's that very dark line coming right down, and it's spiraling. Like it wants to get into that very bright space. It wants to have what's in this cup, and it's so dark. It longs for its opposite. So there's even a sense of empathy or compassion for some of this predator-like energy, because it is natural. It is part of the natural world. The existence is a constant state of ebb and flow, of contrast, of learning through exposure to the opposite. How do you know if you're truly happy if you never figure out or are exposed to a state in your life where you're not happy or where you observe it being experienced around you? It's that kind of a thing. You learn through experience in life what you are and what you are not, what you want and what you don't, what you seek to empower and what you do not. It's through that constant state of contrast. So even this predator-like energy, and this is part of what you're aware of and why you've inherited this sensitivity, this awareness, knowing you're safe. You're very connected with that divine aspect within self. And you're looking for support, possibly guidance on how to really navigate this new sensitivity, this new awareness. Okay, so what specific clarifiers do we have coming out for where their heart and mind is at? Let's start with where their mind is at. Woo, that one almost flipped right off. Almost. Okay, so this is the inverted Knight of Cups. Okay, so you're not open to, how do I want to put this? If there were to be some assertive or masculine energy, be that from a man or a woman towards you, you are currently in a state where you're not necessarily open to you want something of depth, something real, not something shallow, superficial, like here's a dozen roses and that will make everything better. It needs to have something of real substance. And it needs to be balanced. So this can't be something where, you know, kind of like a high schooler. You know, when you're in high school, you don't necessarily know what you're doing. The way you would seek the companionship of someone that you would desire to spend time with is going to be very different than how you would approach someone you're interested in when you're, you know, in your early 30s, you know, in your 40s, your 50s, you know, and it's different depending on the stage of life and where you're at. But there is a definite implication that it's very hard to be balanced when you're in high school. A lot of people don't even know who they are. A lot of people don't know who they are throughout life. But as you get older, you have more and more time, more and more choices that you can make that lead you to understanding who you are. This is backing that up, that you're wanting, if there is to be some kind of a romantic incoming energy, for it to be one that is balanced and more mature. That does not mean that there's not going to be, because I mean, you look at this person, that's kind of reckless, right? Being up there, just hanging out, holding on by their tippy toes and their fingertips. There is a youthfulness present, but it's balanced. It's not saying to reject your inner child being present in the interaction. It's just the respect of knowing that each individual has a history, and that history is something that will unpack slowly. It's something that you get to savor. It's a slow burn, really. It's the invitation to enjoy that slow burn, but to make sure that if you're going to put your hat or your number in the hat to be pulled, like you need, this energy needs to do so. This energy is feeling that need to do so. And the first card is the implication that either you're not receptive to a shallow courtship, or they're aware that that's not what you're needing, that you're needing something of depth. Because you have inherited this awareness, this sensitivity, this connection, this responsibility. You have matured, so they must come in a more mature fashion as well. There is a solid foundation here, though, and it is something that is desired. It's soul contract. And there's a sense of like lighthearted, carefree peacefulness. And that the way is lit. You are surrounded by a lot of energies that are supporting you in this path. And that is present because with the Hermit, you are, you are the light bearer. You're your own lantern. So you have other lanterns, be they, ancestors or here in your soul tribe, whether you're aware of who they are and they're actively supporting you or not, you are being supported in having confidence, awareness. This is also something that is being very muchly desired for you to acknowledge or be aware of and remind yourself of, that you are above the illusion. You are the light. You are the lighthouse. You yourself are the lighthouse. And you can rise above what is perceived to be too heavy. There's definitely longing for what's out to sea, though, that deep emotion, that focus that you're manifesting, that happiness, that dream that lights you up, that vision and connection within self, to that Ace of Cups. Okay. So this has quite a bit to do with the romantic aspects and the connections with family, as to how they really pull and tug, how you nurture versus are nurtured by, so on and so forth. So moving into the emotional space here. What specific messages does the collective have coming through for them here with this number 41 or 5? This is a teacher. Every karmic situation, every, from the moment we're born, every time we have something that challenges us, it's a karmic lesson. And it's meant to give us pieces of ourselves back to us. So this is a challenge that you're learning the finer details of, and how it impacts everyone around you, so that you can have more discernment as to how you allow it to impact yourself. So we have the inverted Two of Wands here. You have been in a state, or an energy outside of you may have been in a state of planning and plotting and longing, and they're stuck in this room with two options, and they don't want the one that's right there in the room with them. They want the one that they are reaching towards, looking for, planning, longing, right? And being that she's seated on the ground, it's very real and physical. It's very present. And just that it's a feminine form, I would say that this individual, you or the one outside of you, is receptive to this. However, plotting and planning and being receptive, it's not necessarily acting. And that's why it's in the inverted. This may be about predator energy affecting this individual. Karmic lessons that they are having to learn. It's possible that they're just not in this lifetime where they really are able to overcome to make that decision to act. And they need possibly a little extra support. And I'm highlighting this string of lights here. So little light showers, light way showers, right? So it's tiny, itty bitty lanterns, but they're not really very bright, but they are there. It's almost in their longing, they kind of tune it out. And you are sitting here in this Ace of Cups, and you're connected, and you're tapped in, and you're aware that there's predator energy around you. Wow, that did acrobatics. And each one of these little sprigs, like that darkness, is affecting it. And I kind of am associating these little icons here, these little, they're not quite butterflies. They look like some kind of plant flowering or whatnot, with these beads coming off of the heart space here in the thought. So we have a tower moment here. So you are open to change, and they're open to change. They may be going through a change in this space right now. These new beginnings, these concepts of what they wanted, some of them are being charged, and others of them are being altered and reformed. But where they are is no longer safe. Is no longer safe in the essence that, well, I mean, if your house is on fire, it's probably not going to keep the elements out now, is it? You're probably not going to be able to be safe and sleep there. And there is a light coming in. So this is a good change that's coming in, but it is rather sudden. Like a sudden knowing, a download. If this individual is not typically open to downloads, this may come as quite the shock for them. Okay. So that came out on its side here. So I will basically, I'll put it upright for now, but do be aware that there is a dual energy here. There are good memories from the past, things that they liked, things that they enjoyed, things that they would like to experience again. And the same is for you. But there are things from the past that they wanted to maybe see if, as you matured, because remember this, as you matured and they matured, they're curious to know, just as you are, where that has changed, where it has grown, where it has been manifested, chosen to be transformed into something more intentional as you made decisions about who you want to be. Okay. And that movement, that lighting the fire to what once was, because you can't relive that. It's in the past. To live in the past is, sometimes it's very tempting. In and of itself, it can take your energy, which is a form of karmic energy drain, vampiric. Like, you could be giving energy to the past and you're basically like draining yourself, right? Because you can't recreate this. For example, this older gentleman, he's not going to want a partner who's like 4. You know, he's not going to want that. That's just, no, right? So you need to be here now. And being here in the now is not like lighting fire to the past, like a firm rejection that is of like the movie Carrie vibes, like the resentful, angry, rageful. It's more of a, I want to transmute all of that energy that's there, to clear the slate, to provide that energy that I have felt, have held on to, have been aware of about this past and all the memories. And I want to unlock that. I want to make it available to be used, to co-create, to create this current now. I want that energy to be present to create the now versus continually sending it to the past, which doesn't change the past. Because your future is what you choose it to be. And in doing this, you are allowing that future, because I gather there's just so much love here. There's so much of the divine present here. So much truth within that. To have the Ace of Cups fall on the Predator card from that oracle is pretty profound. So there's so much love here. To alchemize that, to allow it to be transmuted and purified by fire, possibly working with some of the violet flame as well. All of that energy is going to come into your now, and it's going to be amplified. Because there's a sense of discovery. There's a Christmas vibe to it. The divine's kind of like Santa in this element here. Ooh. Well, that was interesting. Okay. What do you want me to know about this one? Because I didn't really ask the question yet. I think we're gonna grab from a different deck here for the clarifiers. So we have Spider Woman, and Spider-Man immediately jumped to my mind, and those iconic upside down kisses, you know, where he's hanging from the spider web and they kiss, you know, when he's hanging upside down. So that youthfulness, is that inner child is still present. The awareness that you could be feeling how apart you are in a way because of your sensitivities, your awareness, your inheriting of this responsibility of these dynamics, and that you have been trusted to navigate those sensitivities with responsibility and awareness to consequences. That you are safe in this position and you're in a state of learning. It's important to have that inner child aspect present to find the fun. Otherwise, you could really find yourself lost in the overwhelming feeling of responsibility. You are safe and the inner child is present. Now with the Spider Woman, to some cultures, the Spider Woman is almost like the spirit of Gaia. Very nurturing. And just like Mother Nature, she kind of does her own thing, and things come to her. Things will come to her. In due time, they will come to her to put what you are creating into the world, and what is meant for you will come. If it is yours, it will find you. Okay, and we have the inverted Six of Wands. There is a feeling of before I speak to that, I want to clarify it. I wanted to have a couple backings just because anything that could be a great teacher can be something that appears to be one way, but is actually something else. There's a sense of illusion here, or everything is not quite as it seems. Okay. So we have the Lovers. Now you have angelic support here coming in to help, to intervene. You have divine intervening here. Okay. Now the Six of Wands, it typically, in the classic interpretation, is something you once thought was dead, gone, done, is coming back. But inverted, there's a anxiety present here that could be causing quite a bit of hesitation. Okay, if I do not get one more here, then it's fine. fine. I will know the interpretation that they're wanting to. Okay. Oh, okay. There's a lot of doubt present here. Oh, there is a lot of insecurity present here. A lot. All right, so I'll get one of these here. So we have the Knight of Cups. Now we had the Knight of Cups over here inverted. And the higher self is definitely coming through, re-highlighting that this is something that, you know, you have longed for, they have longed for, and the illusion is the sit and wait for it to come to you. Maybe you're supposed to act. As you know, stated earlier with the karmic lesson, maybe they're just too surrounded. Maybe they've been too surrounded. Maybe you have been too surrounded by darkness. Even though you're open to this process, you or this other person has to, you know, take that first step, and it may be their lesson this lifetime to do so, but it's possible. It's possible that for some of the collective, they won't unless you do something, and that means you have to have another life for them, you know, for them to learn that, to go through all of this again for them to learn that. And are you okay with that? Because the alternative is that this doesn't come back, that the Empress, well, you know, there is the Empress energy here because of this, and this waiting, and nothing happening, just both sides manifesting, and nothing ever happening because nobody's taking the initiative. She may be here, this very abundant Empress energy, but she can't turn upright unless this energy goes upright, unless there's an action. So that leaves her in a state of, well, something's got to happen here. If you're not going to move, then I have to. So the Empress has to be the Emperor in order for this to work. But the Empress energy is not about being assertive. It's about being receptive. And she is not supposed to be both. She's supposed to be the Empress. So there's this frustration of being trapped, waiting and nothing happening in both sides. This is like two best friends, totally in love with each other. I don't know about you, but I think we've all had an experience like this, or we know someone who has, and neither one of them says they have feelings. So nothing ever happens. But to everyone around them, it is so tangible how much they care about one another. The only way anything will happen is if the divine intervenes, because neither one of them is going to do anything. And with the karmic, spiritual, elevated perspective here, one of you is awake and aware enough to know that this is a lesson, that you're not supposed to do this for them, yet they won't do it unless you do something, which means you miss a whole lifetime together. Because this Nine of Wands inverted, this is a protection of that beautiful, bright future. And that's inverted. There is so much anxiety here that if you don't act, you both miss out. And you're supposed to be the Empress. You're not supposed to act. They are. They're supposed to go, guess what? I still have feelings for you. But they're not going to do it because they've been surrounded by this darkness and they've given their power to it. They've given their power to it. And they're content to just sit there and light a candle in your memory and long for you until they die. And then they go, oh, you know, after they die, they're like, I was supposed to do something else. Oops, I was just too scared. Wow, I'm really channeling that feeling. Whew, that's intense. Such such strong emotion present, such longing and heartbreak. And the awareness that you have, having inherited this ability, this sensitivity, you're aware of not only what pulls on your heart, you're aware of what's pulling on theirs and how they are being preyed upon, and they're allowing it because they don't know any other way. That's not necessarily an excuse that always flies, because they're aware they're not happy. It's on them to do something about that, and they're open to that change, but they don't want to make the decision themselves. They want you to, because it's what they're used to. It's all they've known, is just going with the flow, letting darkness decide everything for them, allowing themselves to be controlled because it's easier. They can always pass off the responsibility. Oh, well, so-and-so did me wrong, so it's really on them that this, this bad experience or this current circumstance I now have to deal with. No, you had a role in that. It takes two to dance. Two to dance in any dynamic. So you have responsibility for allowing them to take your power. And I'm not necessarily speaking to, every situation. This is a particular situation, and for those that it resonates with, you know that it's for you. It's something like, say your partner has a very domineering and controlling parent figure who doesn't like having to give up their power because you're moving into their daughter or their son's life, and you're taking up the space that is healthy for you to take up, and your feelings and emotions and desires and plans and wanting to create a life together should take priority over the parent who should let go of their child who is grown. Let them have their own life. So if this particular individual was so used to just being dictated to, they may expect you to be just like that too. And this is why there's this, you need to grow, you need to mature. There is so much potential here, and you both know it. But this has to be handled differently on your side or theirs, whichever side is feeling the pull of this predator energy. Actually, both sides. You need to set some boundaries, if you can, with yourself for how you allow this to affect you. Because until they own that they must make a choice, or they will miss out, you both will miss out in this life. Because you're not supposed to be the emperor. You're not. You're supposed to be the empress. That is very clear to me. You are supposed to be there for them to come to you. But they're scared because they're not used to having to make their own decisions that are risky. To owning being foolish. To dream. To dream is an empowering thing to do. To choose to act towards this world that they have been longing and dreaming about and wanting and desiring. And maybe this is some advice you're meant to pass on. Maybe it's for the people that are watching this, that are cross-watching, because they know that their person watches these. However it goes throughout the time that this reading is available for individuals to watch and happens to coincidentally end up in their queue. Are you okay, really, with being, come the end of your life, this beautiful chance that you've had to actually be present here, out of all the different individuals, awarenesses, consciousnesses that could be in your place, having lived your life? Think of it like, typically there is more than one sperm that breaks through the egg. More than one. So we don't know why one sperm ends up being chosen over the other two. Say there's 3. Why one versus the other 2? The divine chose you for some reason to be present over the other 2 who had also made it all the way into the egg to create life. So this is a chance. This is a beautiful chance. Are you okay with saying, I was scared, so I just dreamed of the life that I wanted but never acted towards it? I was content to just ponder, visualize, create in my head, but never act towards it. Are you okay with justifying that? That's not even settling. That's a step behind settling. That's not even getting in the race. That's not living. And there's an openness, definitely, an awareness. This knowledge is coming in, definitely, but I didn't even ask a question and this was coming out. So if anything, this is where you both are feeling so frustrated, and this could be that download that's coming in, this awareness of how you're like, I'm not supposed to do this. You're supposed to do this. And because you're so resistant, because you've been so surrounded and gotten so comfortable, and this is just how life is, you have to have divine come in. Now, that's not knocking having divine intervention, but this is a 6 of Wands and a 2 of Wands. These are personal decisions. And they've required a Tower and a Lovers. They have required something that the divine is saying, nope, we're not gonna, nope. You have a contract to fulfill. You know, definitely emphasized here in that symbol and that pentacle. You have a contract, buddy, and you're gonna fulfill it, and we're gonna help you do that. Just very, very emotional. So what's the outcome here? Being that this is really the heart of the conflict between you two, what is the outcome? What is the most likely outcome at this moment? Being that the divine has intervened or will be intervening, what is the most likely outcome? The Selkie. This is interesting. This particular history to this is so rich with symbolism, because the Selkie, this is you looking at yourself. So it's similar to the concept of a shapeshifter. However, this is only in this instance. This is like mermaid, pretty much. So she would put on this coat and she'd become her Selkie self. Then she'd go into the ocean and she could be her Selkie self. But the typical lore or history of it would be that she would fall in love with a human man. So she would take off that coat and she would be human. Now, sometimes they were taken advantage of and their coats were held hostage against them and they were never allowed to return back to the ocean. But what is being very muchly present here is the concept of being in both worlds at all times. Being aware of your higher self simultaneously with your current consciousness in this physical reality. That's one way that it can definitely resonate. Another way to kind of look at it would be it's not so much past self, future self, it's being in 2 timelines simultaneously. Or having this groupthink between yourself, within yourself, very muchly aware of the higher realms. With this inheritance, you are far more aware of your sensitivities, of the energy, of the interconnections of everything. You're far more tuned in and sensitive to how other you are, to possibly others or the majority of those around you. Now, you know that you're not alone. You know that there are others out there just like you or will understand you, but they're not necessarily your next door neighbor. So, finding a way to accept being of both worlds and the varying degrees to which you are in this state as well as how they are in this state. Because they are going to, especially in the soul contract, they're going to be mirroring you just like everyone mirrors you, but to a far deeper degree, a far more in-depth, intimate, personal degree. So their way of relating to this duality within themselves is going to be a little different than yours, especially because there's been so much darkness around them. They may have quite a bit of trust issues. And you're this light coming in, showing the way. And it's very interesting that there's two very prominent beams that are coming through, touching both the Selkie and the woman here. It's definitely a feminine vibe to that form, but definitely feel free to invert that. There's also a concept of the sun coming in here as well, up from the clouds, breaking through the storm cloud. So there's going to be a break in this conflict. There's going to be a break in this conflict. And you're going to be learning a lot about yourself and them. Mainly about yourself through learning about them. It's a very, very complicated, yet when you're in it, it's so obvious and apparent. It's a constant dance. Eight of Swords. You're going to be learning how you both, through this communication, through this awareness, how you basically give in to being restricted, how you self-sabotage yourself, how you hold yourself back in both the physical and the higher level awarenesses. And how you hold yourself back from communication, transparency, vulnerability with one another. And it may start very, very small and simple and basic and slow. Yet again, the slow burn. But being that this is a soul contract and there's a lot of love here, slow is probably the best. Because you're taking your time, making sure that that Selkie doesn't run off into the ocean and you never see him again. You don't want to spook him. Though, I mean, they may put themselves in Five of Pentacles or out in the cold because their anxiety is just so overwhelming. And that's not saying that you don't have anxiety. But the Empress, in order to move into a state of being in Empress energy at all, you have accepted that every rose will have thorns and that you need to be careful with how you handle that rose, or you will find yourself with possibly a cut. Ooh. So it's handling that with care. Okay. Ooh. All right, we have a King of Wands coming out inverted, doing acrobatics to do so. If you look at this card, you just get like this smug look on his face, like this arrogant, smug look. But I mean, I guess he is the king. Why wouldn't he have that look? But this is It's also Leo energy. There's 2 lions, and there's the manifestation, the wand, the scepter is on one side, which if it were upright, it would be on his right side, so his action. But because it's inverted, it shows up in this image, looking at it. Oh, wow, okay. Why do they have me do that? They're wanting to highlight that he's not open to acting, or there's a conflict do I want to act or do I not want to act? Do I want to receive? Do I not want to receive? This is going to be the conflict within this assertive energy. Oh my gosh. And the Queen of Wands inverted. Oh, wow. Okay. So you're both going to be dealing with this. Now, I'm also getting that this could be a karmic. This could be a large portion of this darkness surrounding this anxiety. The source of it is a previous connection that was a very toxic one. A very fiery, toxic one. Being that it's inverted. What do we need to know about these cards here? What exactly is the collective needing to know about these two here? Woo! Okay. So then we have both inverted here. And this definitely plays off of the King and Queen of Wands and how this could definitely be playing through all those dynamics of should I or shouldn't I, and that constant not knowing what to do, which leads to, like, typically upright 5 of Cups would be disappointment for all the times that you've brought a cup to the party and the other person didn't show. The inverted is the lack of that. However, the Ace of Cups is like this overflowing cup. It's possible that in this state, because this was upright at one point, that it became somewhatly toxic. This cup, that this energy coming towards you, this assertive energy coming towards you, they're constant, not sure, because of this unhealthy, abusive, toxic connection in their past, that it became toxic. Now, inverted, I'm just getting like there's definitely this feeling that if they open up a little bit, all of it's going to come out, because you have the Lotus here as well. And the lily pads, like they know that once they open that door, there's no going back, that they're manifesting that future of that Ace of Cups not being toxic for them anymore because of this, but allowing it to flow, like upturning it almost, like here it is, all of my love, all over you, there's all of my emotion. And the anxiety then makes a bit of sense, because that is a profound vulnerability after coming from something like that. However, for them to possibly know that you understand that, but oh, kitty. Ah. You're familiar, right? Your kitty, your pet. He's telling me it's time. So we'll just grab 3 cards and a crossing card to summarize here. And possibly, like, there's just not meant to be more synchronicities for you guys. That they're intentionally left blank at this point for you to discover your own personal journey at this point. And that's exactly what's going on here. So with that in mind, I am being reminded to say, to invite you guys to like, share, subscribe, and this will, allow more people that are longing, needing, having these synchronicities brought to them sooner, because there's a lot of energy here for a lot of people that will encounter this reading. And the sooner that they become aware, the sooner they can get these synchronicities, and the sooner they can get some healing, some comfort from their spirit team. He's very insistent. So I'm very grateful and humbled to be the channel for you guys to receive these messages from your spirit team. The divine within me honors the divine within you. Namaste.